Ever wonder how a creature can be just as happy in the water as it is on land? Well, today we're diving deep into the incredible biology of the frog. We're going to go system by system, from its amazing skin all the way to its three-chambered heart, and uncover the secrets of this master amphibian. Ready? Let's jump in. So here's the roadmap for our tour. We'll kick things off with the frog's exterior, its blueprint, if you will. Then we'll zoom way in to its cellular building blocks. After that, we're heading inside to check out its engine room, its power and control centers, and of course its life cycle. And you'll definitely want to stick around for the end, because we've got a rapid-fire review that's perfect for nailing those exams. Okay, first stop, the frog's blueprint. Before we even think about what's inside, the outside of a frog tells a really cool story about how it's built to survive. So let's take a closer look. So check this out. Every single part of the frog's exterior is just a masterpiece of evolution. That super compact body with no real neck, that's all about being aerodynamic for those huge leaps. And those hind limbs with the 5-webbed toes, they're basically built-in flippers, giving it some serious power in the water. But the coolest part, that smooth, scaleless skin. It's not just for show, it's actually a secondary lung. The frog can literally breathe through its skin. How amazing is that? Okay, so we've seen the frog from the outside. Now let's zoom in. I mean, way in. We're going to go past the organs, past the systems, right down to the very fabric of what makes a frog a frog. Its fundamental building blocks, the 4 animal tissues. And believe it or not, pretty much every animal, our frog included, is built from just these 4 types of tissue. You've got epithelial, which is like the protective outer layer. Then there's connective tissue. That's the scaffolding, think bones and blood. Muscular tissue, well, that's the engine. It's what creates all the movement. And finally, nervous tissue is the command center, all the wiring. Everything else we're about to look at is just a clever combination of these 4 basic parts. Now that we know the basic building materials, let's see how they're all put together. We're heading into the frog's engine room. This is where it fuels up and gets all that energy to where it needs to go. So how exactly does a frog turn a fly into the power it needs for leaping and swimming? Well, it's basically a 2-part process. First, you got to break down the food, that's digestion, and then you have to deliver that fuel everywhere, and that's circulation. Okay, just imagine you're a fly for a second, caught by that super sticky tongue. The journey is fast. You go down the esophagus into the stomach where the breakdown begins. Then it's on to the intestine where these powerful enzymes from the liver and pancreas finish the job, letting all those good nutrients get absorbed. Anything that's left over gets sent out through this all-in-one exit called the cloaca. It is an incredibly efficient little fuel processing factory. Okay, so the nutrients are absorbed. But how do they get delivered all around the body? That's the heart's job. But here's a classic exam question, so listen up. How many chambers does a frog's heart have? It's not 4 like ours, it's 3. And that number, 3, is a huge clue to its amphibious life. And here it is, that 3-chambered heart in action. Blood flows through a completely closed system of vessels. You've got 2 atria that collect blood, one gets blood from the lungs, the other from the rest of the body, and they both dump into one single powerful ventricle that pumps it all back out. Now, this design does mean there's some mixing of oxygen-rich and oxygen-poor blood, but for an animal that can also breathe through its skin, it's a super effective system. All right, so the frog has its fuel and a delivery system, but what about the power and control? Let's move on and look at how it actually breathes and how its nervous system acts as the master coordinator for every single action. This right here is one of the coolest things about frogs. They have 2 completely different ways to breathe. On land, they use their pair of simple sac-like lungs. But when they're in the water, they can just absorb oxygen directly through their moist, permeable skin. This dual system is what really makes it an amphibian, perfectly at home in 2 different worlds. And what's the master controller running this whole operation? The frog's command center. The brain and spinal cord are like the central computer. Then you have this whole network of peripheral nerves branching out, carrying messages back and forth. Messages like, hey, danger, or jump, now. And all the while, the autonomic system is just humming in the background, quietly managing all the stuff the frog doesn't have to think about, like breathing and digestion. It's amazing. So we've pretty much covered how an individual frog stays alive. But what about the species itself? How do they keep going? Well, that brings us to the really incredible story of the frog's life cycle and its reproductive system. Frogs have separate sexes, right? And their systems are different, but they kind of mirror each other. The male has testes that produce sperm, and that sperm travels through sperm ducts. The female has ovaries that produce eggs, and those eggs travel through oviducts. It's a really clear division of labor when it comes to reproduction. And here's the key part. This all has to happen in the water. The female lays her eggs and the male fertilizes them externally, right there in the pond. Out of these eggs hatches the little guy we all know, the tadpole. It's a fully aquatic larva with gills and a tail. But then the magic happens. Metamorphosis. This little swimmer will completely re-engineer its own body. It absorbs its tail, grows legs, develops lungs, and transforms into the adult frog we recognize.
Okay, we have covered a ton of ground. So if you're studying for an exam, like the NEET for example, this next part is for you. Think of this as your high-value cheat sheet. This is the stuff you absolutely positively need to remember. Okay, let's do a rapid-fire review. Time to lock in the essentials. Tissues? There are 4: epithelial, connective, muscular, nervous. Morphology? Remember the moist skin, the webbed hind limbs, and no tail in the adult. Circulation? That's the 3-chambered heart in a closed system. Respiration? It's a dual system, lungs and skin. And reproduction? Separate sexes, external fertilization, and that all-important tadpole stage. Got it? Those are the absolute core facts. You know, we've looked at all these systems separately, but the real genius of the frog is how they all click together. Just think about it, how that unique 3-chambered heart supports a life that's half spent underwater, or how its nervous system can calculate the perfect angle and force for a leap from one lily pad to another. It's not just a collection of parts, it's a perfectly integrated machine. And that's what makes the frog a true master of 2 worlds.